5, 6, 7.
Yeah, we're already going. We're already
1,
going.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Hey.
Ready? We're getting ready for wrap up.
Oh my God,
wrap up.
We needed to talk about this for like 24 hours, man.
Yeah. Well, we're still not on camera.
Yeah,
so
I can see it. I see it. I have the screen.
All right, boom. There it is.
It's a little bit of a delay. How's it going, everybody?
Okay, first things first. Hello, everyone. Is the sound synced with our lips?
This is becoming a thing.
Yeah, we have to do this every time. Mokti said Blana. Does anybody in the chat know what Blana means?
Blana means Vulpera.
Yeah, fur. It's fur. All right, so we're good. We should be good. I mean, if Mokti confirms it, then we should be good.
Yeah, I'm prepping the links. You can say hi to the chat.
Hello, chat. I cannot see what you are writing, but I will look after the show is over. And today we're gonna have a very exciting show because, well, we have that teaser for the animated series, whatever that is, and I think we've been speculating a lot about this. We're gonna get into everything. We're gonna analyze all the 6 seconds of that teaser.
What is that? 120 frames?
It's we're gonna slow it down and watch every frame.
What? I mean, it's ironic, but what a bunch of teases, man.
Yeah, a bunch of teases.
I want to add an extra word.
I don't know if you noticed, if you watched, but they also released what's gonna happen at Gamescom.
I saw some schedules being thrown around. Is that what you're talking about? Or
No. Hey guys, if you're gonna be at Gamescom, you will have the chance to have some dragon riding in real life.
Oh, they made it public?
Yeah.
That's dope.
Well, listen. If you're not gonna be at Gamescom, we're gonna be there and we're gonna dragon ride for real. Well, for real. When I say that, I mean in VR. So basically, you guys gonna see it's a huge device. You just strap yourself on it with everything on face.
Like Pornhub, but without the extra boobs.
Yeah, you're gonna have some Oculus 3 on you, and when we are gonna be there, it's all gonna be recorded and stuff, and you guys will get to see. It's pretty effing crazy what they're bringing to Gamescom. Plus, from what I understand, the WoW booth at Gamescom is gonna be the biggest one from all the developers out there. It's gonna be a lot of crazy stuff happening. Well, we kind of speculated that too because they have to celebrate 20 years of World of Warcraft. Well, that's in November, but still. And also the launch of War Within is going to happen during Gamescom. So who knows what else?
Have we ever had this type of thing happen before?
No, this is a
no launch
first time
during any convention whatsoever.
No, the only time Blizzard was big in Gamescom was in 2015 when they announced Legion. And that was pretty crazy. That was like the first time they announced an expansion outside of BlizzCon. It was at Gamescom 2015, and that was like, it was Legion. And then when everybody saw the announcement of Legion, it's like, holy, because it was with all the features with the artifact weapons. And
underwear was wet that day.
Yeah. So, and I remember so vividly because I was at the seaside in Holiday. I had my laptop with me watching it from the hotel.
You lost your shit, didn't you?
Dude, because they had a really teasy way of showing it. I don't know if you remember. So the first thing that they showed the little short animation, short cinematic with Gul'dan walking up to Illidan's prison. Remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. And Demon Hunter wasn't yet announced. We didn't know. It was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Because the whole thing from Warlords of Draenor to Legion was, with Gul'dan with the time travel.
Yeah, we knew Gul'dan. It was not out of the picture just yet.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was it. And after that came the cinematic and not the actual cinematic, but the features and stuff. And the trailer with the features, when the Demon Hunter dropped, everybody, including myself, everybody lost their shit. It was incredible. And then you got all of the other things, the artifact weapons and all of that. So that was the only time Blizzard was, huge on an announcement at Gamescom. Well, after that, it never happened. And it's interestingly enough, they never had any powerful presence at E3. E3 is canceled, but E3 used to be the biggest gaming convention out of all of them, right? Gamescom is that now.
Yeah.
But they never had some big. They had sometimes in the 90s they had booths over there.
Yeah, but you have to think about the fact that they've canceled BlizzCon this year, back with the exception of COVID. When E3 was rolling, is like probably not a big reason to do anything at E3. I would imagine, considering that they had.
But they never did. That's the thing. They never did. Never, ever. So the only external convention it was Gamescom, and that was to 2015. And man, what a year that was when they announced Legion. But Now they don't have anything to announce because everything was announced.
Yeah, we know the next two expansions. So
yeah, it's a weird time. Interestingly enough, because at a convention like this, where it's like approximated like almost 300,000 people are going to attend, and we don't even know how much streaming numbers this event is going to have. They have all the books on the table, and everybody knows all there is to know. You know what the expansion is. You know what's coming. We speculated what could they announce over there. Now you have to correlate the announcement or the announcements from Gamescom with the fact that yes, we're getting into a new expansion, but also celebrating the 20-year anniversary.
It's a lot of things, and you remember that when we watched BlizzCon and Metzen just announced the 3 cinematics, everybody was like, "But aren't they cutting away some of the hype, some of the stuff for future expansions?" And we're like, "Well, yeah." But I don't know. But listen, I mean, there's definitely stuff to talk about in a week or so.
They're cutting the hype in sense of like there's no more mystery on what is to come. But we still don't know. Like all the hype was around cinematics. We didn't knew the name of the expansions, but what really got us pumped up was cinematic.
Yeah.
And we already have cinematics for The War Within. I still believe there's something to be shown at Gamescom in regards to The War Within, in terms of cinematic, like fully rendered,
some
premium quality.
Some proper dwarf stuff.
But enough of that. That's nonsense. Earlier today, today,
It's about 20 hours
last
ago.
night, we got a teaser, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you saw this, and I don't know how many of you get excited when seeing stuff like this. Not everybody appreciates the anime drawings, cartoon style, whatever, the Castlevania style. It's very anime oriented. But I think what we can all agree here is that we have now a proper, how to say this? This looks Warcraft.
Proper Warcraft.
This looks Warcraft. Now, it's interesting because right off the bat, I have to say this. We're going to go through the whole thing, right? But right off the bat, when this teaser ends, you have the War Within logo at the end of it. And is this related to the War Within? This is like the $1 million question.
That connection is going to be hard to. I mean, everybody that looks at this and knows anything about the lore of Warcraft, you know that this is the I don't know if it happened exactly in Warcraft 2, but it's essentially the war between the High Elves and the Amani Trolls, which led to the Elven, coalition with the humans, the first alliance that was made back then, and the promise that this essentially, if this is what we think it is, this essentially happened hundreds and hundreds of years before Warcraft. That was probably with the first alliance between humans and elves that essentially made elves promise that they will be coming back to help the future line of what was Trollbane or whoever it was, or Arathor.
Could have been your mama, but regardless, there's a lot of stuff to go into it, and one key element here is that we get 2 shots of this lovely lady here. I think this is Illyria. This must be Illyria, right?
Is that Sylvanas to her?
And it should be Sylvanas. Let me get the proper
if it's
close-up.
blue, yeah.
And Sylvanas, right?
There you go.
Okay, so now this Illyria can definitely be related to the War Within. We have a lot of things to do with Illyria over there. We all seen it in the pre-patch and so on and so forth. But Sylvanas, is this like... Because, okay, time-wise, of course, you're going to have the 3 sisters over there. Because there's Illyria, Sylvanas, and...
Well, here's the thing, because I see...
Vanessa?
Illyria,
Valyria?
Sylvanas...
Your mama? Is she a sister? Well, regardless, we will not speculate on Flame's mother too much. However, I was talking about this art style right here. It's pretty anime-y, and I'm pretty sure not everybody enjoys it, and that's fine. What we do have to enjoy is the fact that we finally see some in the sense that trolls and orcs are fighting it off, which is very Warcraft indeed. Now, shall we go through the actual teaser and see what's up? Let me just make this first okay, and I will change stuff. You can talk to the people, the good people.
Hello, people. How's everybody doing today? Did you have a nice 2-hour rest? 2.5, I guess, I suppose, at this point.
All right.
I don't think it's the Troll Wars thing when our sisters were not alive during the Troll Wars.
But there's trolls here.
Probably. Well, I don't... At which other point in time was Silvermoon under attack by what is clear to be Amani Trolls, if it's not the Troll Wars?
Right.
the question, but you know.
Okay, so I sped this to half its speed because it's 6 seconds, all right?
All right. We get 12 seconds of juicy Warcraft animated
and
footage.
We'll have to like stop it, right, to some extent, right? But let's take a look. All right, so we have trolls here in this shot, right? We have the high elves.
We have Lorthamar Theron then as well.
What? What you say?
Lorthamar Theron. Listen with your ears. You see him right there, just underneath the blue-green elf bow.
Yeah. But that's the name, Lothar. Didn't have a proper name.
Just throw a bunch of syllables there and you got it.
But it's definitely in Keltalas, right? Because you see in the background,
Silver
those, Silver Moon.
Silver Moon City, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's where it has to be. Because these are definitely Amani trolls. They're like the beefy kind of trolls. I think somebody in chat pointed accurately, the fact that there's orcs there, it's probably not the actual trolls, it's probably Warcraft 2 more than anything, because orcs were in Azeroth during that time. So, yeah, obviously you said it really well that at the end we have the War Within logo. We'll talk about what that means. But it's definitely within the scope of the game's story at the very least.
Oh, yeah, I call it animated series for Netflix. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. All right. Now, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure people cannot hear any sound of it, but that's fine because there's not much. 6 seconds, guys. Come on, give us a break. But this guy definitely says in this shot, you know what he says.
He doesn't say a single consonant.
All right. This gives me so much BFA vibes.
The catapults?
It resembles that, but again, it's still a war that's going on. And look, here, the two sisters. So we have Illyria and Sylvanas. Let's, it's them because, look,
Yeah, that's the B. Well, I think you were kind of implying that there has to be a reason for Sylvanas to be there, but I mean, the only reason is that she would have to be there. She would be a high-ranking general in the army, so it wouldn't make sense for her not to be there in the scope of a war and a story.
I'm not saying, I'm not implying that. Oh my God, we're gonna have Sylvanas back.
I don't think they're gonna dig up that grave.
Definitely not going to happen. But what I will say is that. Man, we've been talking about a Warcraft Netflix series or animated series.
I think we talk about it every expansion.
Yeah, every expansion.
Like 1 or 2 videos on it.
We can safely assume that we talk about it every 6th video. We put that in there because I think that would be such a big win. And okay, it's probably the chances of this being a Netflix series are pretty slim. But and I'm saying this because I saw the War Within logo at the end. That's the main thing for me. It's like, okay, if there was nothing there. No logo, or maybe a Netflix logo, who knows. But if it was nothing there, then I would have said, okay. But if you're going to do like a Netflix series and you're going to show this as a teaser, that pretty much wouldn't have much to do with the War Within because you're showing part of the history of what.
That's what's confusing me as well because first of all, if you look at this, I mean, I don't know what it tells you, but to me it tells Castlevania. Pure and simple, the art style is the Castlevania art style.
Isn't anime? Isn't this sort of anime?
No, there's way more. There's like in terms of art style, there's very little to do with anime. It's more to do with Western style of animations. A lot of American cartoons follow this suit. There's a lot of like superhero Marvel stuff that follows this style, but it's mostly Castlevania. Like the sharp edges of the hair, the dark shades. It's very reminiscent of that. I don't know if it's the same studio. I guess we'll see. But that's the only main reason why I think this could be a Netflix series, considering that, I mean, it has to be streamed somewhere. Is it going to go on Amazon? I don't know. I mean, if it's the same studio that did Castlevania and that animates this as well, I don't know if they would have like a prior contract with Netflix or anything like that for any future titles that they would have. But it would make sense to be on Netflix. The only question that I have is does the Netflix audience compose of also Warcraft fans? I mean, didn't they have the movie there as well, or was that
they recently got back onto Netflix? Yes, the Warcraft movie is back onto Netflix. Well, not in all countries, but it's there back in the Netflix catalog. Yeah, and that also could be a good hint. Okay, maybe it's not Netflix, and I'm gonna say this. If they have like a couple of episodes prepped up for this, all right. Yeah. So if this is part of a series, whatever, it would be such a waste to have it only on YouTube. I think
YouTube, you think it's going to be YouTube?
Well, I'm just gonna go for the devil's advocate here and say, okay, it's not gonna be no series everywhere. Now this is directly related to the war within. It's probably gonna show the backstory of Illyria and probably some other characters along the way. Okay, although in my heart I know this is going to be a series, and it's a copium as fuck.
So here's how I can feed that copium even more. First of all, I think the main reason why they showed the War Within logo is because that's the official World of Warcraft logo that we have current to date. From I guess a public perspective, like there's no actual logo that represents Warcraft 2 story. Are you gonna put the Warcraft 2 logo? Nobody's gonna resonate with that.
There is, like, if you go on their official website, you do have the World of Warcraft logo without any expansion.
Yeah, but isn't that classic?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, fair
Classic
enough.
has its own logo.
Then that would be a good point. The only reason why I still think that this is a series then is that it's clearly animated by a separate studio that's not them. If they would make something specific just for the game, just to, I don't know, give Illyria some backstory because they're probably going to kill her off and we need to build up that emotional support and we have to like the character before they kill her off because otherwise it wouldn't have that emotional impact. Sure, but I still believe that this is a whole series because are you going to contract a whole studio to animate a series and you're not going to monetize it in like a meaningful way? I don't.
That's a great argument indeed. There's also the fact that there was negotiations between Blizzard and Netflix in the past. It was for the Diablo series. I don't know if you guys remembered, but there were talks that was dropped. And we never knew what the relationship was after because they kind of sued each other after that.
as you do.
It was basically some legal problems over there because somebody was not fulfilling the end of the contract. However, if it's not going to be Netflix, it's definitely going to be some other streaming service, right? So it could be Prime, it could Prime, it could be Paramount Plus, it could be Sky Show, whatever. There's a lot of options for them to do this. And the argument that, this doesn't look like the Blizzard art team or the cinematics team worked on it, although I'm pretty sure the people from that department oversaw it and make sure the direction is going great. And I'm pretty convinced Metzen is also involved heavily in this.
So you gotta believe when you saw that orc neck actually having more muscles than the whole Drakthir model, you knew Metzen had something to do with it.
Yes.
And that's what I mean. You said it just right. Like it's clear that the art style is not Warcraft related. It's more, what we've seen so far from other, animated series that are also, by the way, still on Netflix. So I still believe that's going to be a fully fledged series. Could be Netflix. I mean, our money is on Netflix, and if it is the case, it's going to be a banger. We always said that. After the success of Arcane, I wouldn't call it a success because we don't really know the numbers. I know for a while it was the #1 show on Netflix when it launched, first season. I mean, it proved the critics wrong, it proved the media wrong, it proved the status quo that you cannot make a good game adaptation to in the little screens or big screens or whatever. You cannot do it, but Arcane proved it. Otherwise, of course, Marvel did it with their universe as well, with Iron Man and all of that stuff.
Yeah, and they fucked that shit all up in the end.
But at first though, whenever they had RDJ on, that was a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. So there is proof this can happen, and if there's a franchise that could benefit from a series, an animated series, even a real-time action series, this Warcraft is it. Granted, you have the proper writers over there, and they make the stories compelling, and they don't steer off into different avenues, which we know other shows steered off into different avenues, and they ignored the story to introduce ideologies and politics for no good reason. Listen, that's all. That's all fine if the story is cool, if it makes sense story-wise. We're never opposed to like anything new, nuanced, make all inclusive or whatever, as long as it enriches the story. Because at the end of the day, we are consumers who want good stories. This is what we want from our entertainment when it comes to like movies and TV series and stuff. We want good stories. This is the business they're in, right? Give us that good story. So if there was a franchise in the whole, we can talk about Diablo, we can talk about StarCraft. Jesus, there's a lot of lore there as well. But man, this is the time. You have the 20-year anniversary. You have the launch of the Dragonflight. You have the whole World Soul Saga at hand. Why not complement this with an actual Netflix animated series? It feels such a perfect time. And talking about big announcements at Gamescom, well, if this wouldn't be a big announcement, I don't know what the hell would be. Like, imagine Imagine, like,
it's such a
Netflix, ding, ding.
it's such a right time to do it as well, because if you think about it, sure, it's 20 years for a while, but Warcraft is a lot older, and it's getting to that point where it's like, you know, a comic book. It's like, you know, the comic book culture where, oh my god, I cannot wait to see Batman on the screens whenever you read the comic books back in the 80s or 70s, you know, all of you old folk boomers. So I think we're reaching that point with Warcraft where it's more than just a game, it's a cultural part of our, you know, our environment, of our community and all of that stuff. So it would make sense. We've dipped our toes, well, they've dipped their toes with the Warcraft movie, and, you know,
the Warcraft movie it wasn't profitable. It broke even. This is due to China.
It's not to criticize it or anything, but they did attempt to tell the story with the origin style, and it's like, oh, how did it all happen? And they tried to fit in a little bit too much. But this is just jumping into the actual action, to the established wars between the Orcs and the nations of Azeroth and whatever the show is gonna reach in terms of its topic. Unless this is a flashback where Illyria reminds. What if this is a short from the flashback, and the show is like totally different? Maybe it's set in like the modern era of World of Warcraft. That would be a big bait and switch.
It would be a big letdown. You wouldn't tease this if it would be only that. Come on.
No. What I meant was that they're probably making they're clearly focusing on Illyria. Illyria has clear ties to the War Within. Obviously, you said the logo was there, so there has to be, you know, oh, do you not know who Illyria is? Well, watch this show so you know who Illyria is. So I feel like that's probably the main scope and the main connection between the game and the animated series, because I would imagine a lot of people that play the game don't know very much about other Warcraft stories, or even stories that happened before WoW. A lot of people just came in even recently. So it would be a good backstory for the character for you to actually care, because why would you have to be emotionally invested into a character? But if we are going to be invested emotionally into a character, this is one way they can do it, instead of just telling us, you should care about this. Why? Because it's on the cover of the game. No, just, you know, build it up.
You know, you can only go so much to show stuff like this in the game. So at some point, you know, I don't necessarily agree with super, you know, abuse of external media to like complement a story or a character or whatever. I mean, sure, you can do that to develop a character more, like, you know, get really into detail and stuff. But I feel like the main core of the story should be within the game.
At the end of the day, dude, if Final Fantasy can do it, WoW could find ways to tell the full story within the game enough for us to actually buy books and watch videos and stuff.
I agree. But there's one more thing regarding this whole Netflix thing. Now, would it make sense business-wise? And we have to tackle this because, you know, if they're going to go outside and pay money to an external team to make some animated episodes for Warcraft, would this make sense business-wise? Now, we don't really know exactly how Blizzard is doing financially at the moment, and we're probably not going to see as much because they were bought by Microsoft. And this is where I put, you know, even more questions in business-wise. Microsoft has like come forth and said they want to keep pumping the major franchises of Blizzard. Now, this definitely includes Warcraft, World of Warcraft, but they're also developing and putting, you know, emphasis on smaller teams to do AA titles. Given the power of Microsoft, the financial power of Microsoft, the business acumen here would be at least very doubting, because would an animated series bump up or pump up the notoriety of Warcraft, of World of Warcraft, and this specifically War Within? You want to do a lot of marketing because you want to get the word out. You want to make that maybe people who never played, or people who thought about coming back, or, you know, people just forgot about completely, but they used to play. This type of marketing could potentially reach people who want to come back. You know?
Well, I mean, the best example is probably us, but not only us. When we watched Arcane, we played League right after that, man.
That's a great. We got pumped up to play League because
we played it for like a couple of months after the Arcane.
Not to mention The Witcher. Like, we both picked up Witcher when the first season got
we
never finished it at that time, but I finished it again because of the series.
Yeah, so there's definitely
there's a tie-in. There's a tie-in, and you pump up the people to purchase it.
We know that some of the if money was ever a concern, some of the biggest things that people do whenever they adapt some kind of media into TV is to make something related to toys. So we probably won't have actual toys, but the Blizzard store has kind of increased lately, and even with the Arclight Rumble, although I don't know how much crossover will be here, you can actually buy miniature things. Now we already have skins of WoW characters into Diablo. They're definitely going to add something like trading posts related.
They added, I think, Frostmourne in Overwatch very recently.
Yeah. They're definitely going to use the trading posts to add cosmetics there. They're probably going to add in-game shop, anything to pull people maybe from the game to the show, or maybe to make people that watch the show feel like they can bring that connection into the game and represent that visually and something like that. So there's definitely avenues for them to monetize the concept of this show, whether if it's directly or indirectly. So I wouldn't say that they wouldn't have any way to make it.
You mentioned one very important thing. You said action figures. They have a contract signed with McFarlane Toys. And if you know about them, they do some kick-ass action figures. They do the best. I mean the best. I said the best. No, the best in the best. Look up McFarlane Toys, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. There is a contract signed between them.
Oh, there you go.
If they would explore that, I would buy everything. I don't care how much it would cost. Dude, McFarlane makes the best action figures with all the proper articulations and the quality. It's amazing.
Articulation.
Like if you have, you have to have.
Marcelian is going to limp to the office because he's going to sell one of his kidneys.
I'm a geek, man. I'm a geek with action figures. Yeah, when you have like a proper action figure, you have to look at how many points of articulations it has. The poses. There's a lot of details over there.
Or joints.
Yeah.
But I mean, you did get the Illidan one, which was always really
that's
cool.
Shit. That's shit.
Yeah, but it's still cool.
That is shit.
Nobody can see it. I don't think I can see it.
Okay, so you have the Illidan there. That is shit compared to what McFarlane does. And when we got a Comic-Con, I think we got that stuff. And that was from the series they did for Heroes of the Storm. That was not with McFarlane Toys. Yeah. If they go on this avenue and they get into this whole animated series, the history of Warcraft up to the point of the War Within and whatever, and they're gonna eventually show us what they're working with McFarlane Toys.
There's definitely potential. Well, if anything, like we can probably speculate as much as we want, but probably the best way to kind of extrapolate what this could mean is just from looking what they did with the game. They've done in the last couple of years in terms of their vision and their risk-taking. The potential of them taking any risks it's definitely visible in the game with how the game changed since Shadowlands to what we have now. Like if you would have told anybody playing Shadowlands, listen, WoW is going to be like this in the War Within, they would have said, dude, you mean Final Fantasy, right? You surely don't mean WoW, right? So it's clear that they're taking more risks in terms of what their franchise has to evolve in. And we've known this before, like, they're involved in different Warcraft projects. They said this before, that it's not necessarily about games, but the Warcraft universe. And, when Metzen came in about, that was what he was in charge about.
We also have to mention the fact that, John Haidt, he's not with the company anymore, but when he was last interviewed, he did mention that, the scope of Warcraft is way bigger now. And they're looking at a lot of
surprise.
Yeah, he was speaking on things like, we'll take ideas from what the guys did at Marvel, not recently, what they did with Disney, not recently. And, in the sense that model, of building a franchise into whole different media avenues, games,
universe.
Series, TV shows, all of that stuff. And you would never think about Warcraft in that scope, but John Haidt had this vision, and hopefully, the people that are working now over there and taking the lead have the same scope and vision, and this could potentially be it. Now I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on. They wouldn't do all of this, banging on the story, putting this animated teaser out and all, if they didn't have full confidence in their story, which I don't believe in the past we had that. We didn't really.
No.
The confidence in their story now oozes out of everything they show us. It's very different if you look at it closely.
That's one thing, and there's also another thing. Like they never really show anything that they're not very confident that's gonna do really well. And we can probably give a counterexample with Plunderstorm, but even that they kept it really under wraps for a very long time. But this they're showing us, like they're very secretive. They're very safe with all of the projects that are not necessarily what's the next patch for WoW, and the fact that they're showing this and it's. And you're not gonna show an animated show in the style of Castlevania and not actually deliver on it, because you know everybody's gonna think, oh, Netflix series. They're not gonna be, oh, you guys think it's a Netflix series, but it's actually a 2-minute short on your mobile phone. Like that's not gonna happen.
Dude, that would be such a letdown.
It's gonna be an actual series.
Let's just put put it to rest. If it's not going to be an actual series, all right, at the very least, what they can do is, okay, you put it on YouTube, it's fine, but have it, not have it 2 minutes. And this is a waste. If you have this art, this amount of production into it, right? If it's only 2 minutes, it's the biggest waste they could have ever had. That would be ridiculous.
It's a slim chance, but you know what else it could be? It could actually be a trailer for a different Warcraft game.
But they have the War Within logo after it.
I know that
stops me from. If they wouldn't put that goddamn logo, which I love, don't get me wrong.
It's a good logo.
If we wouldn't put that there, we would have went wild with what could this be? Like, trailer for a different game. Oh my God, this
Warcraft 4 strategy game, maybe on a console. I don't know.
There would be, but we have that. So this I'm 98% sure this has ties with the War Within in some capacity. Now, that wouldn't be a problem, once again, because the War Within is part of the World Source Saga, and it's supposed to be a banger of a story, and a banger of an arc with all of the expansions. So it would make sense to have this complemented with an animated series on Netflix or Prime or Hulu or Sky Show or TV Time or whatever it may be. I'm just saying, man, please let it be like at least 3 episodes. Don't make it a 2-minute thing. Come on.
No, it's full of
it would be such a pity. Such a waste.
I guess we're going to know in like a week.
I think we're gonna know at Gamescom. I think this is prepped up for Gamescom for sure. Which we're gonna be there. Anybody from Germany is gonna be there. Well, anybody out there who's gonna be at Gamescom, say hello. We're gonna be a lot at the wall booth for sure. But okay, so let's move on. Let's move on, because the things have happened.
The iron is hot. Let's leave it.
Okay. So I want to circle back to an older idea we talked about, and this is from Paravel. I have to give credit to Paravel. I don't know if she's on the stream and whatever, but I feel. We need to dissect this really hard and push it as much as possible, because the more and more we think about it and see what's happening all around,
the more it starts to make sense.
Yeah, it starts to make more sense. Make more sense. It makes more sense.
It makes cake
in Flame's head. Yeah. So the whole topic here is Mythic Plus in 6 players. All right. So six player Mythic Plus. Now, what would this achieve? How impossible or possible would this be to implement? And okay, just setting the record straight, I don't think this will ever happen in the current expansion in the War Within. No. So if this could potentially be something, this could be somewhere around probably midnight.
If they will ever play. I mean, let's talk about some of the where this is coming from our end, and I do have something to add that came up recently in the last year or so that could facilitate a 6-player M+. But one of the things that this reminds me of is the request from people to have 10-man raiding, and not necessarily because 10-man is like a magical number, but because you always have if you have a group of friends or a guildies, there's always about more than 5 people, but not 20 people to do content with, and 6 is between 5 and 10, and it would add different levels of content that you can get to. For instance, our group of friends that we do keys with we're about 6-7 people, and we can never actually do a dungeon with everybody, and that kind of sucks, right? So it would facilitate that kind of a player base. Obviously, it adds more flexibility, and this could have big impacts for the game, because if we're gonna have
because
6-player Mythic Plus, obviously the 6-player would be still a DPS player, and it would fix so many issues. Just think about how many DPS players exist in WoW as opposed to tanks and healers. There's obviously a larger number of DPS players compared to every other else.
Always has been.
So it would essentially bridge that gap and give more people a chance to actually find groups. Essentially, that's might not be a very interesting thing for you to hear, but the reality is that if you are playing a DPS player and you don't really have a pre-made group, you're probably gonna wait way longer to get into a group than if you would play a tank or if you would play a healer. So it's clear that the proclivity of players to play DPS is just way higher than it is for a tank or a healer. That would be one thing. There would be also a whole different thing that just happened in Dragonflight.
What are you talking about, Flame?
Well,
we have augmentation. That's what happened. how many times have we seen, big boy MDI streamers and, Race to World First and all those guys saying that, it's kind of problematic that we don't have a second.
The concept of the support. So this is all new to WoW, right? The concept of a support class, and it's still well, let's say an unchiseled.
Let's call it virgin territory.
Like me, but it's still not like fully disclosed as a topic, right? Like, what does a support mean? Does it have to be for a DPS spec? Does it have to be for a healer spec? Does it have to be like its own separate thing? Because clearly they're having a very hard time finding a space in the game for augmentation. Like, what is augmentation? Are you going to be a DPS? Are you going to be a support? But if you're a support, are you a healer or are you still a DPS? Is your DPS going to matter? Well, if you don't have high DPS, people are going to look like, oh my god, but you don't have high DPS, man.
No, I think they did a good job, like putting the identity of augmentation. And I think, like, if people really wanted the Bard in World of Warcraft, if you would have had 6-player Mythic Plus, then hey, here's another type of support where you have like ding 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 ding.
Because here's a question for you: what is the future of the support class in WoW? What do you think the future is?
Well, that's the thing. Augmentation is going to carry on doing its thing, buffing damage and augmenting the people, while a Bard could. I don't know how lore-wise that could be in, but I'm just saying, a lot of people ask for Bard. You remember all the videos, Bard class in WoW.
Let's say there's Bard and like what else? Are we gonna have like more support specs, or are we just gonna have augmentation?
Okay, that's interesting. Now it could be a brand new support class in the Bard, or you can go back to what we talked about in previous videos, where you would add another spec to classes where they would act as supports.
Well, now we're getting something.
Now we're talking the same language.
Because everybody was like, but Shaman is a support class, Paladin is a support priest, right? So there's a lot of specs, and I think they've done a lot of, I don't know, ground testing with Classic. I know that they do a lot of stuff with Classic, like making mages heal and stuff like that. So it's not out of the scope of possibly. Yeah, there's like a rule.
Season of Discovery.
Yeah, Season of Discovery. Yeah. So there's definitely something on the table. We don't know what's on the table just yet, but it would make more sense for augmentation to not be the only support class in the game. You would have to add more. Obviously, it would make sense maybe even for a mage to have a support class. So essentially, more classes to have another support spec. I don't think we're going to live in a world anymore where they're going to destroy a spec to make it something else anymore. I think we're past that. Combat turning into outlaw didn't really have.
I hope that will not happen.
Yeah, again. Survival as well.
Okay, they did that already. That was smoked.
So the only thing is more stuff like extra specs. But where do you fit all of these extra specs?
Where do you fit, and when does it? When does
we come back to our topic?
Okay, this is the thing. Like, just coming from the ground level here, how many times you either didn't have the spot for your group of friends because the party was full for a dungeon, or even I think more problematic is when pugging. A lot of the times, you wouldn't play the meta spec, and you would
play Valdrakken waiting.
Yeah, that's the new game mode, right? Just circle around in Valdrakken. But that would definitely solve part of these issues.
For sure.
Having space for another. Now, it does beg the question, though, because right now, in the queuing department and how you go into how will it balance out? Because people are probably going to try, let's bring in 3 tanks. 1 healer and 2 DPS. Hey, listen, I'm all up for that.
There's 2 groups of people never having any tanks anymore. That's horrible.
That's a different topic of discussion. But 6-player Mythic Plus would 100% first off give the incentive for more people to start playing because there's more space, and also the plugin situation where, okay, sure, apart from the meta slaves that will only invite you for playing a meta spec. There's a lot of times where you would queue up probably into a group of people who are willing to take you, but you just got there a second or 5 seconds late than the other guy, and you were out because you didn't catch, the 5 queue team completed. Now with 6, you have more chances to get in, plugin wise. Same thing, because you gave the example, we have like 7 people circling around doing keys with our little group over there. There was so many times where somebody either had to leave room for somebody, or just it was hard to like, listen, dude, don't be upset, but we already have a group here and that's it. And I also believe it would make more the dungeon experience. It would make it more fun, I believe, because you would have a little bit more chaos over there, but you also will bring a lot more tools. Obviously, the dungeons would need to be not overly different design, but
That's very important what you're about to say right now, because it definitely steers into a direction that people have been asking for, where it's not this. If we have 6 people Mythic Plus or dungeons in general, we cannot have dungeons be this complicated. It's going to be a little bit too hectic. There's way too much going around. There's way too many people in a confined space. So they would have to like not necessarily simplify the dungeons, but tone down the number of mechanics present at one time, which is, listen, you're going to see once the season 1 starts, it's going to be a little bit busy, this expansion around, when it comes to the amount of stuff that's going to happen around you. Some people like that, some people not as much. It definitely affects the majority of the players a little bit more. So having more people is going to most likely come with the addition of dungeons being slightly simpler, some slightly less chaotic. And they're already laying grounds for this. They have been doing this, even if they didn't really intend to, since Legion. Mythic Plus was supposed to be like a one-time thing. And it's clear, ever since Legion, Mythic Plus has surpassed rating as a desired endgame content. And if you really look at online games in general, people tend to favor more short bursts of gaming and short segments, like 20 to 30 to 45 minute sessions of gaming, so they can go off and take care of their kids, go throw out the trash or whatever. They don't really like rating, although it's, you know, one of our favorite ways of playing World of Warcraft, is dying. It's nobody has the time to stay 2 to 3 hours at a time at a computer in the modern day of gaming. We might find time, but it's not convenient for a lot of the people. So Mythic Plus tends to be, you know, the escape, the counter choice when it comes to gameplay. So obviously that's going to evolve more. We already know that, you know, it's already bigger than raids. So what's the next step?
It definitely makes sense from that point of view, because I think they also know that the player base generally is getting older and older, and I don't see as much fresh blood coming in. Sure, there's a couple of exceptions here and there, but at the end of the day, the commitment you have to go for when it comes to Mythic rating, because that's like, you know, the biggest commitment. Even if you're in a chill guild and, you know, nobody's like really pressuring you, you still have to be on time, you know, respect the rules and all of that, and you have to make the grind a little bit to get the gear. People who Mythic rate know what I'm talking about. Of course, you have the LFR, which is by far, you know, the option for everybody who doesn't have time and you want the small dose of content. You know, normal rating is pretty easy as well, heroic, whatever. But Flame pointed it out exactly. Like, Mythic Plus has become the go-to gameplay mode because WoW has become this seasonal. Then seasonal games do tend to attract people who want to get like a small dose of gameplay. Having a 6-player Mythic Plus in the future would add even more to this. Now, complexity of dungeons, the design, they did mention that they want to simplify the dungeons. They haven't really
that didn't age well.
Didn't go, yeah, it didn't go. It aged like a very good and expired case of milk. But regardless, if they're going to introduce this, and I really hope they do it, it's going to be a W all around. Not only because you're going to open this, and this is not only Mythic Plus I'm talking about. Like, the dungeons can be queued up by 6 people. This is the thing. They have to tune it around 6 people, but you can do...
If they ever implement this, it would be like a whole flip on the game engine, the encounter design. Another reason why they're already laying down the ground is what happened with Dragonflight, when they brought all dungeons in and they completely revamped them with new mechanics, modern pathing, and all of that stuff. Not all of them were successes, Vortex Pinnacle, but a lot of them were pretty cool. And, you know, Throne of the Tides was one of my favorite dungeons, even though it was a little bit crazy, but it was really cool.
All of the
Kata ones,
pre-WoD dungeons, all of them had their crazy stuff in Mythic Plus. It was
refreshing, and it was fun. It was one way to engage with old content without feeling like I'm playing classic WoW, but at the same time feeling like, oh, this is a rich part of the game that I don't really engage with a lot of the time. So it's great that, you know, every now and again, I remember the days when I was underwater in Vajir and leveling, right? So I feel like they're already, you know,
if they could pull that off, adapting old dungeons to the current Mythic Plus, they can definitely adapt, you know, the new dungeon design for 6-player Mythic Plus.
Well, either way, there has to be a future for Mythic Plus. Like, there has to be a revamp of the gameplay so that WoW doesn't feel like the same old formulaic game. They're definitely doing this in other aspects that are easier to attempt, like professions, like world content, like reputations. We already saw a big revamp of that. You could probably say, a revamp of classes when it comes to the hero talents, coming back to, you know, an actual tree in Dragonflight, and, you know, hero talents are not the
They're
most
not
amazing
revolutionary.
thing, but it's you know, it's something else, it's something other that you can engage with as a, you know, a red paladin or a fire mage, to engage with your class, as opposed to just, you know, copy pasting a build from Wowhead or Icy Veins and stuff like that, right? So WoW has to change and to adapt to make it more interesting. You could say that why 6-man, why not 3-man dungeons? That essentially just continues
There used to be scenarios.
yeah, we obviously have that, but that just makes it even more difficult to find, to give people what they want, essentially to give tanks content, to give DPS content, and whether or not you want to admit it, it is a big problem right now with the amount of people that just don't like to go into non-DPS specs when you play the game, and that needs to be addressed.
It's going to get much more relaxed, and you're going to have a much bigger pool of players who are probably just sitting out, you know, being not that comfortable, let's say, in a social environment. However, this is an MMO, so at some point you have to get social a little bit. Regardless, if you're going to have 6-player dungeons, you're definitely going to get even those people in much easier, because yeah, as Flame mentioned, it's probably going to fill the DPS role, so you're probably going to look at comps where you have 1 tank, 1 healer, 4 DPS, or 1 comp, 1 healer, 3 DPS, and 1 support.
Hey, that's the thing, because you know what else they worked a lot, you know, kind of indirectly and abstract behind the scenes that, you know, a lot of people didn't really pay attention to, was Torghast. It started with Torghast, where Torghast would be a content that adapts to your role, and if you're a healer, mobs have different levels of HP and different levels of damage. It's the kind of similar with follower dungeons, so they're making their content flexible to the role that you want to play, and making it so that your role is not required to engage with the content. You can just choose whatever. Same with Delves, by the way. Delves can be approached, but if you want to be in your tank spec, you can do Delves. If you want to be in your healer spec, you can do Delves. Right? So all of that is basically a part of the game. So they're taking these baby steps to hopefully something larger. Obviously, we're speculating here. But if you would ever want to input 6-man dungeons into the game, taking these kind of steps makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned hero talents, and we have to get into this as well. You look at the interface of the current talent tree, and you see in the middle now we have hero talents. We're probably going to have another row below.
We're definitely going to have more up until last time, right? Because this is the World Soul Saga thing.
Yeah, but what after that? What's going to happen after that? Are we looking at a potential borrowed power, quote-unquote borrowed power situation for the future of WoW? They did say they're, for now, they're not looking at that solution.
I think they're afraid to look further than this, because it was kind of like Legion, where Legion just brought a whole new stuff that raised the bar high.
Whoa,
and after Legion, there was like either going to be a bigger high or a big drop, and we know how that went.
No, it went bad. Now, granted, right? We went through the Artifact Power grind, the Azerite grind, the Torghast Conduit, all of that nonsense from Shadowlands grind, Anima Power grind, okay, I forgot the name of it. And obviously people got really fed up because of that. There was like huge amounts of just burnout on doing a lot of chores and just grinding infinitely for that borrowed power. You guys remember, I'm sure, there was huge heated discussions regarding this. And we went back to the time where the only borrowed power, because this is still borrowed power, tier sets are borrowed power. Even trinkets with effects are borrowed power. But they're borrowed power that would make much more sense, and we're way more accustomed to it because it's part of the
also,
RPG.
The grind is added differently, and we have a lot of parallels that we can talk about that's also in House of Blizzard as well. But when it comes to tier sets and gear, it's usually the scope of you playing the game. The scope of you playing the game is not to level up your neck piece with putting magical points into it. It's to just get a bigger sword or get a bigger shield or anything like that. That makes sense for an RPG game, and that is fine. I mean, the fact that, you know, the WoW is seasonal, essentially everything is borrowed power for like 5 or 6 months before the next season starts. That's, you know, a different topic for a different video. But it's clear that something's going to happen with the hero talents. If they go away, those would be what we would call borrowed power without probably the grind, because you just get them, but then you lose them. What's more realistic is going to be that some of the more successful hero talents are going to make it into the class or spec identity. If they're giga successful, which I don't think they are just yet, maybe they will become just a part of your class in the future, just like how, you know, the current talents are. It's going to be crowded, but in support of that, what we have seen is, like, a good example is Survival Hunter, the rework, where it went from a very generic RPG spec of, you know, you have all of these points, you can put all of these nodes you can put points in, and you have, get 5% more damage, 5% more crit. But what happens if you keep adding cool new talents, where some talents have to go away because you're not going to have like 250 nodes, right? This is not Path of Exile. Yeah. What talents are going to go away? Well, the ones that are the boring ones, the 5% crit, the 5% damage, which are the ones that went away for survival. So they clearly have the means to be able to filter out the boring stuff from specs and classes and let the cool stuff get in, so they could, put the hero talents in. Now, in terms of the actual borrowed power, there are positive examples for borrowed power as well.
Yeah, what would those be? Because we like initially, okay, let's talk about Legion first. When we first got, when we're not touching on the legendaries, the whole RNGness of that is different. Just talking about the artifact weapons. Yeah. When you tied that borrowed power to something so personal, like your
you cannot
weapon.
Take it away.
Yeah, that was the mistake. Now I'm talking about strictly the positive. We didn't know. Like back in Legion, we didn't know what's going to happen in BFA. We, as far as we were concerned, we believed that those artifact weapons will be with us forever. Not in the sense of power necessarily, but just
they somehow would make it to the class. I mean, it was a contentious topic because you didn't loot a weapon in the entire expansion. That was weird.
Yeah,
that was essentially weird.
I was fine with that.
The people who argue for borrowed power, I think what they argue for is what artifact weapons essentially were, a way of progressing your character that didn't stop once you reached max level. That felt like whenever you did a new raid or more dungeons, you kept getting more, and you essentially maybe unlocked the cool new passive or maybe the capstone of your artifact weapon. Essentially, that was cool. That was very dangerous to do because it might have created and might create in this day and age. You don't have the 5 points in your weapon yet? Well, you cannot join our raid yet because you don't have the 5 points. Go grind more, right? So if they would ever implement that style of borrowed power, they would have to, really think about it. Another borrowed power that people, you could say they had maybe mixed opinions, but that's not necessarily because of the borrowed power itself, but mostly how it was implemented. It was corruptions in BFA. When the friction of acquiring them has been stripped away 90% of the time, people love that shit. It was explosive.
It was crazy.
It was cool. And you took your character from like, oh, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, and then you're like all full of tentacles and 10,000 eyes on your left knee, and then you spawn that big eye of corruption like was 200 meters wide, and then you just spawn beams and stuff. That was chaotic, but it was fun. And whether you like it or not, it was borrowed power, and people enjoyed it.
Yes.
And it's clear that people don't enjoy the mindless grind, the carrot on a stick, you just need to be logged in today. Why? Because otherwise you're behind. That's what they didn't like. That's what they didn't like about Torghast. I went to do Torghast before just to farm transmogs, and if you take away the necessity, the grind, the mandatory chore, it's actually a fun content. And we've said this in Alpha when we've tested it for the first time, and pretty much everybody that tested it in Alpha, whenever it was not tied to a mandatory grind, a chore, an objective, people enjoyed it. So I think that would probably be the future.
Well, again, back to the artifact thing. So that was artifact power done right, because at least at the beginning, it gave you, first of all, it gave you your power, your the essential thing. But it was not only that. That's the thing. You had the artifact weapons, which you would follow a million different quests and different secrets and stuff to unlock.
It was a good implementation of power,
yeah. So we always talk about this thing where Blizzard keeps on missing this whole give the people their unlimited crazy options to customize their characters, to color their characters, to like tint whatever. Now Legion had this with its borrowed power. The borrowed power were the artifact weapons. The artifact weapons had a million different skins, colors, whatever, and you were incentivized. So the thing is, you didn't really feel the rat race as much because you were so attached to this thing of yours and it was so personal. But it became even more personal because you invested time to chase the looks of it. And going back the Ashbringer, a couple of the skins from it. It was crazy to get all of these. You didn't think about the fact that, oh my God, I still need to grind this and such artifact power to get this. No, it was a very good example. All of the skins they did, and that was such a good way. They dropped the ball when BFA came around, in the sense that, making them much more personal and personalized. This is what I'm saying, and this is what they could do. Talking about what is good borrowed power. You're gonna have to grind for it. That's it. It's an RPG. You're gonna have to work. Okay, not grind. Work for it. Okay, the best of the best has to be worked for. This is how RPGs work. Now,
that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how they implement the grind.
But even if you're gonna implement that chorey shit, do it like in Legion. and give me that artifact power, make it so personal that I really
that would be
that bothered.
Legion had its faults as well, and the only reason it really worked the way it worked is because it was also gated. Otherwise, people would get like huge advantages and you would live behind. And there are also people who couldn't actually play their characters because they didn't get the right legendary, and it would take.
That's why I didn't want to touch on the legendaries.
Yeah, but that was also part of the system as well. But they have an even better example that's even more close to home. That was even more recent. That is Diablo 4. Whenever they introduce endgame systems that gave you power, like the seasonal content of Diablo 4, where you got borrowed power, and they fumbled like what 2-3 seasons in a row until they got it just right like right now. So, and that's an in-house project. They have access to it. They can learn from it. Like, what do people want to do in the game? And in Diablo 4, you grind like a motherfucker for it, and you love every second of it. So there is a good example of putting in good grind.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's very hard to translate what happens in a smaller world of an ARPG. They want to call it MMO or ARPG, but it's not really that. But it's very hard to translate that into a big-ass super established online universe as World of Warcraft. But I do believe borrowed power will inevitably come back, because as much as when they introduced the new talent system and the hero talents that will probably listen, if they're gonna bring Midnight and they're gonna give us another row of hero talents, I believe a lot of people are going to be disappointed.
You cannot be just on the row.
How are you going to market that? Okay, so you already have the hero talents, right? You're going to give what? Maybe a new hero talent, so you have
like a new page,
something in along the lines of, so now everybody has 2 of them, right? You have Deathbringer and Rider of the Apocalypse. Okay, now we're going to have a 3rd one in Midnight. I think that's going to be a little bit.
It's clusterfucky.
Yeah, but also excitement-wise, hype-wise, people are not going to be that hypey about it.
We obviously criticized borrowed power for the last couple of expansions pretty severely because it was
rightly so.
Yes, it was not fun. But if you really think about it, ever since Legion, you did not have an expansion without borrowed power. And if you, as much as it sucked, if you take away the borrowed power, the expansion would be fairly bland and very boring. And you could think of Dragonflight having the borrowed power as the new talent system, which was a new thing for you to engage with, which is what Marcelian is trying to say. It's like, if we have the same thing, it's not going to stick. We have to have something new. Now, what is that going to look like? Because if we had this conversation 2 years ago, we would have said, but after Dragonflight, what are they going to do? A new row of talents? And look, they added new talents, but it was like this whole new thing. Like hero talents, class fantasy, class flavor, right? So they have to do something to this scope, magnified within Midnight and Last Signer.
Exactly, and I was showing there like the Ashbringer being like all pumped up with points and stuff. At first, when you had that, it was very exciting, right? You had, because we had the Excel spreadsheet talents, and basically the artifact weapons had points in it, and it was a reminiscent of the past when you would put points and you got excited. Oh my God! If I go to this and this, I'm unlocking that. Sure, it was all like super linear. Nothing really gave you an option.
And in the end, you got all of them anyway. So.
Exactly. But it didn't kill the excitement of breaking that point.
It was a journey. You knew you would get everything eventually, but it was the journey for the expansion. The journey didn't stop when you reached level. What was it? 110 on like,
I don't remember what was the
100. Was it 90? No, 100 was in WoD. It was 110 in
probably
Legion.
110, if I remember correctly.
So it didn't end once you reached level 8. It didn't end in the first 8 hours of the expansion, your character's progression, right? Which now we still have character progression, but it's the abstract kind, the get more eye level kind, which is the boring kind.
Yeah.
And you would have to have some way to progress your character, and Artifact Weapon was one of the best examples that was also Warcrafty.
It's the best example so far. Now, once again, if we want to get people hyped for the new expansion, because the War Within, how many people do you think got hyped about hero talents when they first announced it?
Well,
how hyped did you feel?
I think the hype was way bigger at the beginning when we didn't know exactly what they were, because we speculated what they could be, and they turned out to be a little bit of a letdown. And every time I think about this, I think about Dark Ranger for Hunter.
Oh boy, this is
that was
the bad child,
like the
problem child.
Dark Ranger was added in Shadowlands. Oh my God, Sylvanas! Now you can have your elf customized in Dark Ranger with like these emo eyes and pale skin and all of that, and you can even get her transmog. That was so cool. And they're doubling down with the Dark Ranger right now, but obviously it's it turned out to be what it ends up to be. And if you really let's say, take the common denominator factor of all of the hero talents is just some more fun gameplay. Some of them get cool aesthetics, but not all of them, so do you care? Are hero talents a source of aesthetics, of cool new spell animations for you? Not necessarily, because if it's for some and not for others, then if you cannot get excited about a feature that you might not get if you play the wrong character. So the only thing you could get excited about is the gameplay changes, the impact, and that is a little bit bland across the board if that's all you're going to be excited about when it comes to hero talents.
This is the thing, and I was asking that because if they're gonna announce new subset hero talents in Midnight, or even like a brand new page that put below that in the interface, it's not gonna be happy.
It would have to be a new class at the very least, and I don't think that's even gonna be enough.
Again, because you have different selling points when you bring out a new expansion, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally, if you bring a new class, that's probably going to be hypey. I'm not sure, Dragon Evoker was that hypey.
Was not that hype. No, I mean, it definitely didn't pull the numbers in the game.
Exactly. So you have that. Then you would have, the big villain on the cover. You would have this amazing new feature that would not necessarily be tied to power, but some sort of or a new gameplay loop or something. So there's different selling points. But when it comes to the things that make you play your spec class, whatever, and how it impacts that, if that is not hypey enough, you don't get the same reaction. You don't get the same vibe. Like, again, when they announced the first time we saw in Dragonflight the actual new talent tree, we were blown away. Like in the trailer, it was like, oh my god!
It looked like WoW again.
It looked like WoW again. Yes, sure. It was messed up in the first example they gave. I remember it was Druid.
It went through so many iterations. In the end, it turned out all right.
It turned out all right, but that got us excited. Okay, we won't, beat on this dead horse again. Dragonfly had a different issue for which the hype was not that real. But borrowed power, if put right in the game, and if they would attach some sort of like customizability,
there is. I do want to say we didn't explore this topic a lot on our channel because it's not really the type of content that we do, but Delves could be an example of how they could implement a different sort of progression / borrow power, where you feel like you're grinding for something that's rewarding and you progress through the entire of expansion.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's full cosmetical in the Delves, and it doesn't have to be necessarily, it probably have to be power in the end somehow, but like the way I look at the Delves, with how you're progressing brand and unlocking new stuff and getting new customization for the mount, is the closest thing I can have to the artifact weapon. It's not the power that you get, but it feels like what you do in the game is basically shown visibly to everybody through the mount that you have, which was the weapon that we had back in Legion as well. So they probably could implement this, take this system from Delves and actually put it into, I don't know, dungeons or raids, and expand your midnight journey from level 0 to level 100. Then you get points from doing raids, from doing dungeons. You unlock, hopefully, sometime this decade, spell effects and cosmetics and skins for your spells, because we know they have the tech. They've done it in DFA.
They're lazy, or they just don't understand how important that is.
It's probably too much work, or maybe they don't have faith that it would be that big of a deal, I would imagine.
Yeah, but again, if it's borrowed power and you also give spell effects customizable, hey, that would be a big win.
Lose their collective shit.
Yeah, it would be a big win, definitely, because that happened in...
How many people did challenge modes, man, for no gear?
Yeah, exactly.
Just cosmetics.
Well, we got
Mage Tower did not reward you any gear, just cosmetics. Like, what is the power of cosmetics?
But here's the question, though. So if we're going to have, at some point, again, the borrowed power, the type we didn't really like that much, okay? Are we still going to have tier sets, trinkets?
I don't think they can take this away. First of all, if you're implying that they're going to bring back the type of borrowed power that we don't like, which is unlikely, considering that, they know.
I know.
And we know.
You
and
say
we know
unlikely,
they know.
but...
Well, I'm not saying they won't bring back borrowed power. I'm saying the borrowed power that we don't like, the Torghast type borrowed power, right? Like, if they bring back, they're not going to take... They've took away tier sets before, and that didn't turn out well for them, and they know, so they're not going to do it again. It was an experiment, fair enough, well, take your risks. We want to live in a world where the devs take the risks with the game.
Of course.
Sometimes that can be negative. We have to take that upon ourselves. Like, sometimes if you want the positive, you have to, take the negatives when they happen. And that was the negative. We now know that it's not okay to take away tier sets, because they didn't have a fun alternative. Azerite was not it. And the Shards of Domination were not it either. Holy shit.
Oh my god, the nightmares, the memories, holy moles. No, man, but seriously, they will have no choice but to bring something like that back. And the question is, if you're going to bring something like that, okay, you mentioned Torghast, there's a lot of bad examples, but eventually, because of how this whole talent tree works and with the hero talents, they will have to give you something, because this is how it works. You have to like progress your character more and more. Now, I'm not saying, you know, bring in a powerful borrowed power, some sort of like, I don't know, a necklace, whatever, you'll find a helmet, you'll find some way to make it stick to your character. I think the most important thing is, if you're going to do that, can you possibly make sure it has a transition into the next expansion? Can you evergreen it at least for 1 or 2 expansions?
There has to be, this is why I also wanted to bring the Diablo example, which is, we don't need it, because we have that in WoW still. But we've seen, you know, Covenant abilities being more or less evergreen in certain specs where they've made it into the talent tree. So whenever something is really fun and people really enjoy it, with the exception of Primordial Wave, it makes it into the game eventually in one way or another. Legendaries in Legion became talents eventually in BFA.
Okay, but that's
like
different.
That.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, okay, you bring it in a brand new system. Like,
are you saying that it should remain in the way that it is?
Yes,
evergreen?
how you translate that from this expansion. So let's say Midnight will bring a brand new borrowed power system. It could be like a customizable trinket similar to what we had in BFA, the card trinket. Well, what was it called in
the Mechagon punch card?
Yeah, the punch cards,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so something along those lines. Okay, that's gonna be, you know, you're gonna have different elements to like customize your trinket, and you know it's gonna be very powerful. That's gonna be like the trinket to get, and along the whole expansion, you're gonna get different options to customize it. Okay, how would they translate and move that into the next expansion without killing it? Because this is always the problem with borrowed power. How bad did we feel?
See, that's the thing,
because
if we go into that direction, we end up in a direction of bloat, where we have way too much stuff. Because then
talents will get to that.
Yeah,
talents,
but that's why they're pruning it, and that's why they pruned it eventually in what was end of Kata, beginning of MOP, or when did they prune them?
Well, that's okay. So the talents got more on top of each other from Vanilla to Burning Crusade to Wrath of the Lich King, and then in Cataclysm they pruned a lot of them. They made a lot of them, just mashed 3 talents altogether into 1, and then you had MOP, which completely scrapped it because they realized if we keep doing this, even pruning will not save it, and they brought up a brand new system for it. Now fast forward to today, we have Dragonflight, where we're back to the same old talent tree with a lot of points. We get hero talents now, and at some point you're going to have to look at, okay, what else are we going to give these players to progress with? Now, okay, we're going to give them again some borrowed power, granted not as grindy as in the past. The key element here, my friend, is to have it move smoothly to a different expansion. And it's not by coincidence I'm talking about a customizable trinket, because that trinket cannot work without its parts, the parts you put into it. Those parts could be salvaged for materials or whatever, and you have brand new parts in the new expansion to customize even more that trinket. So you're not going to bloat it necessarily, you're just going to make its transition a lot more smooth into a different expansion.
Okay, so you would replace some of its power with the new power from the new expansion, but the system is still there.
You have to, but not in the sense that you get rid of everything you worked for. Okay, you have to like salvage all of that to be able to get at least some starting new ones, so you don't feel as bad as we felt when we lost our artifact weapons.
It would have to evolve. It would be like the equivalent of replacing some of the talents that we have now with new talents.
Dude, if you're gonna dress it up in a different way, it's gonna be fine, you know.
Yeah, well, the way that would come into the game is not really important. The way it would stay into the game is probably important. And I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I just try to think of how would that evolve in a world where we're already complaining about how hard it is for new players to get into the game. Whenever they would have to get into the game and to learn, they need to learn talents, they need to learn hero talents, they need to learn
the gearing system,
they need to learn the new borrowed power.
Crests and all of that. No, I'm talking in a more simpler world.
So they would have, like, the only way that I can see that, ironically or unironically enough, would be in similar to Path of Exile, where you would have to centralize the progression in like one thing. If we have too many separate things, it becomes a little bit too much. When you have gear, tier sets, talents, hero talents, trinkets, necks, professions, and all of that, and then you have this extra new thing, which I don't think is going to be a gear piece, because we've been to that role before. It would have to be something else.
It can be done right. You forget BFA, my friend, where we had Azerite traits, we had the necklace with its essences, and we had the corruptions. So when you're thinking about too many, did you feel overwhelmed? It was hard to get them. It was going to get them, but I feel, and I know we have a lot of BFA haters. We hated BFA for its capacity, but the things that felt right,
the essences were good.
Dude, the things that felt right, you have to give them credit for.
Oh yeah, when for sure.
Because you say that, okay, there's too many avenues of systems of everything else. I agree, but we went to BFA and we still had fun. You know, putting aside all the goddamn mindless grind we had to go for, once you had the proper traits, because you remember we had at some point when they realized they gave us salvage, we could salvage a lot of the gear and would not be that problematic to get the proper traits and whatever. So you had the proper traits, you had the proper essences, and you had the proper corruptions. Now we were talking because you felt you had a lot of power sources that were fun.
But see, okay, then if
so
that would be cool,
that. I'm not saying
how would you transition that into the next expansion though, to make it an evergreen system?
No, I'm not saying to transition all of those. I'm saying we've been through that even more than what we had, like a trinket that's customizable. That's what I'm saying. Because you said like, okay, we're not gonna have another gear because there's too many avenues. But we lived through BFA and we had fun even with those avenues.
Yeah, for sure.
All I'm saying. So if you're gonna have a borrowed power system that could translate from expansion to expansion, it has to be some sort of, you know, unique item. Trinket is one thing, but you can have basically any item or a new slot of a gear that would give you. This is the main thing. It's important for you to be able to customize it.
For sure.
This is the key element to it, because if that element, that item is pretty much worthless, it's a stat stick before you customize it, okay? So it has that value. That could be easily translated to a new expansion. You just bump up its item level, that's fine. But the really big power from it and the grind comes from the parts you put into it and customize it to your liking. So if you have this one thing, if you're a healer, you're gonna have different elements that would, you know, amplify your heals, your cast, whatever. If you're a DPS,
so cool.
same thing. And those elements throughout the expansion, you're gonna gather those up. You're gonna have a special bag for it, or you know, they're stacking up. You're not gonna fill your bags with all of that shit because that's stupid. You're gonna have like an interface, let's say, like similar to Diablo 4, right? It's all there, and you're gonna be able to customize it the way you want, depending on what type of play style you want. Your healer, DPS, tank, raiding, PvP, doesn't matter. Now, expansion ends. What the fuck am I going to do with all this thing I worked for? Simple. You get into the new expansion. You take all of those, you scrap them, you get materials to get started for the brand new customizable things from the next expansion, as opposed to like grinding for it.
Very reminiscent of remix gear.
I don't know. I have not played Remix, but it's one way of translating borrowed power, and you have one element, and you will not kill tier sets. You will not kill other trinkets that may drop weapons, all of that. You just have one more thing that could potentially last at least 2 expansions, and this. Not having to scrap talents and add on top of it more hero talents and all that. So all I'm saying.
It's a little bit. It definitely reminds me a lot of the artifact weapons, and it feels like it would be. I want to care about something again, and we definitely cannot have the hero talents.
That's why I keep banging my head about let the people customize their shit, because you create an attachment for it, and you don't feel, even if it's like super grindy and super, you know, you feel in the rat wheel, because you always have something to tinker with. It's much more fun, you know, it's much more engaging, and you get this attachment to it. If you can add on top of it some sort of like cool effects or transmogs or whatever, that would be like...
That would be dope.
That would be dope. That's what I'm saying. So I feel that is the borrowed power we would need.
We would definitely need something more than just what we have right now. And I'm open for all sorts of things. I just want the game to be fun, and I want to have something to care about that they won't take it away from the BFA expansion.
I mean, listen, it's fine if you want to, you know, just keep on the more classic route of it. Right? You're just talents, you know, gear from dungeons or whatever. But what about, you know, things that can...
Give the players what they want.
We want things. Yeah.
You know what else you want? You want to fire up the new 5-minute animated short that's on their official channel that has the Illyria episode.
Oh, come on, man.
That just came out live like a minute ago.
As we do this is ridiculous.
It's 17 minutes ago it went live. I haven't seen anything. Chat is going crazy. Okay. They've been bugging us for like the last 15 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I saw your little smirk, but...
Yeah, I cannot wait. I think I have to Can I hear it if you play it?
Yeah, I will do it. We'll do it as last time. Let me just set it up first. Are we on full camera?
Yes, we're on full camera. But I need to get a glass of water because I don't know how you can handle it anymore. I am fucking done.
Yeah, we'll go get your glass
I'll
of
take
water.
Chad with me. Hello, Chad. You are now going through the office.
Yeah, because it's a lavalier microphone.
Welcome.
Flame, remember, everybody can hear you, so don't fart.
Yeah, I'm fine. And I had a plan for it. Can you hear water, Chad?
All right, so let me just make sure that, oh man. Okay, so it's gonna be YouTube. Man, all our shtick is gone. This is not gonna be on Netflix. God damn it! But I'm still happy.
Well, it's not. We don't know if it's not gonna be on Netflix. It's just 5 minutes. It's not. There's not like a.
Oh, okay. It's pretty.
I don't know if it's the official thing. Maybe it's just like a bigger teaser. No.
Okay, let's see. So you're probably gonna hear it from my end.
Yeah, it's, unless I get there, but I don't.
Let me just make it full.
Actually,
HD.
no. Yeah, fuck it. Who cares? Let's go.
No, you can hear it. You can hear it from my end.
Yeah, but I don't want to watch it with a delay.
It's not gonna be with a delay. It's in real time. It's in
All
game.
right.
Don't be ridiculous.
I'm watching on a tiny screen. I want to enjoy it.
Well, it's tiny here as well. Okay, so let's see. I cannot see the screen now. You have to tell me if people can see it.
Yeah, we're on it right now.
Okay, now just for testing purposes, chat, let us know if you hear the sound. Okay, I'm pausing it because.
I mean, we got feed. Yeah, they can hear it. Yeah.
Okay, so we're good, right? We can look at this.
For sure.
Are we gonna look at the whole thing?
I mean, it's obviously live reaction. Like,
Yeah,
who
it's
knows?
live reaction. All right.
Let's just watch the whole thing. I mean, it's 5 minutes. Not a big deal.
Okay.
When we are young, we are taught to revere the light. But when I turn to it, I see only fire. A fire of pain, of loss, the choices I made. Quel'Thalas, home.
So good.
Until the Horde threatened everything. Yes! My family was sworn to protect it. And protect it we did.
I called it, dude.
When Sylvanas and
It's a flashback.
together, we fought as one. But the conflict here was growing, pulling my sister and I apart.
Such a good metaphor.
Yeah.
How can you leave? You will choose the Alliance over Quel'Thalas, our home.
It's not just our kingdom at risk. If the Horde isn't beaten back, others will fall. I have to go.
But you're abandoning your family.
I am doing this for our family. I lost a sister that day. Had I known that my actions would curse Sylvanas to her fate, but I have chosen differently. I left my home to fight this war to the end. I had no idea how far away that fight would take me. Yet despite the war, I found my life's true love, Turallion. And together we fought side by side. Until we became three. But beyond the boundaries of our world, our enemies grew powerful.
You can make your stand here. Why risk marching into the unknown?
Our only choice is to take the fight to them, before it's too late. Should we not succeed?
I will keep him safe. Just come back.
We'll return before you know it, Eritor.
Had I known that I would not see my son again until he was a man himself, would I have still left? I had given everything for this fight. The only thing left to give was myself.
I love this.
In order to defeat the darkness,
This is the story of her new in-game model.
I had to embrace it.
Shit.
So embrace it, I did.
Oh God.
That's pretty cool.
God damn it! Look at that.
But at what cost? Terralion, who had known me, loved me, fought beside me, now saw me differently.
What have you done?
The shadow, it saved us.
No. I would rather have died than see you fall to evil.
Terralion didn't understand, but I could not fault him. If I had known that embracing the shadow would push him away, would I have sought another path? No. All of the things I did
Hell yeah.
for a reason. War is sacrifice. And I have sacrificed everything to protect those I love. To keep them safe. And if it takes sacrificing myself to protect our world,
That's oh man, it's so beautiful.
I will not hesitate. I am a soldier of Azeroth.
This is really cool.
This is a fucking masterpiece. This is beautiful. Like the story, how they linked it all up, and how they transposed, the old Illyria to becoming
Her journey, yeah.
the the void and all of that. I have no words. This is amazing. Light and shadow, beautiful. And is this like the metaphor between what's his name, her husband?
Terralion.
Terralion, light and shadow. Because okay, she says that she always looked for the light or whatever, but isn't the light basically Terralion? And that's the dance.
It depends on how they want to develop their relationship going forward. Because we've known this story has been present ever since Legion. So the fact that they're putting it under a narrator right now and under her character gives it a little bit more personality and gives it a little bit more emotional weight, where we can hopefully relate to Illyria and her journey a little bit more going into the war within. Now, a lot of the things that we said, we can probably just keep it as a, oh, you remember the logo discussion that we had? Okay, now we know why.
It's all linking up. All right. But this is the type of things we have to deal with when doing content creation, because this is I think the first example where it happened under our nose.
Yeah, it's just as we were talking about. There's a couple of things. Wow, there's so many things that I want to say. First of all, let's just give props where props is due. Finally, a bloody, savage story. That this is more like I'm not. I hear ourselves when we talk. I don't want WoW to be bloody. I don't want to be gore. This is not Diablo. This is not that kind of a game. But it is part of the world and the story and how you actually even if it's a video game that has a little bit of a cartoony art style, war is not something that's pretty. You cannot keep dressing it in friendships and let's sing Kumbaya against the campfire in Valdrakken, right? It has to have some dark and unpleasant parts. And Legion was, I guess BFA did this as well, some of the last times when we've seen some of the darker parts of war, and now we're seeing, visually even more.
It's more mature. I can finally relate to something they do in terms of media, because this sings to my eyes and my ears. They didn't shy away. There was blood in there. There was
a beheaded orc, man.
There was detail, and I love all of the metaphors there. And this is finally something that is catered more to the audience of this game. And yes, you make a great point.
A mature audience. I mean, we're all boomers here. We're not.
Come on.
We've lived through all of these in the 90s and the 80s and the 2000s, whenever you were born in. If you're older than that, then hello, you're my mom.
Hey, Flames mom. No, for real. This is okay. it's definitely not a Netflix show. Which
That is a little. There's some disappointments about this that I.
But I think I'm not sure if this is like the only thing. Okay, so we thought this is gonna be. This gives me hope for Gamescom though, because
there has to be something more.
There has to be something more there.
It could still be like it's not out of the woods, but it's it gets more unlikely the more we get to it. Because we talked about, when was it, last week or 2 weeks ago, when we talked about the last week when we analyzed the cinematic, the Ansorek cinematic.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we're gonna probably have more of these. Well, this is like.
But this is different.
But this is like 5 minutes of actual story. Like it was kind of like, this is animated, this is dynamic. I don't know if it's properly voice acted, but there's clearly more production value into this than.
Oh yeah, look at that face, man. Look at that face, like how she called upon the void.
This
and
is
the voice
this is more anime than it was in the little short. I'll admit it now.
It's a lot of anime elements to it, and listen, I have no problem with it because you mentioned if it's gonna be anime, it's probably gonna be more of like the Western anime, like things like you saw in I don't know.
Our style still is, but the combat is way more more explosive. More flashy, looks really good, and it's the kind of stuff that a lot of people probably vibe with. Oh my god! Like when you pause here.
Yeah.
Whenever you thought of like you look at this, right? But whenever you thought about, I don't know, Arthur succumbing to the dark power, Geralt succumbing to the dark power, embracing like Illidan, embracing
they got corrupted.
Fel,
all of them got corrupted.
Like in your head, what did you picture? Like it would have to be something like this. This is probably what you wanted to see, whether it was in game or on TV. Like embracing this dark power and actually putting it to use. This is so
impactful,
cool.
visceral, visual, all of that.
Not to
combined.
mention, like we can talk about, unpack it from a cinematic perspective.
I'm not gonna do the analysis now.
It's too much.
It's a lot, but they really. I don't know what studio did this. Is it in the description? I'm curious.
And by the way, just to ask, because I'm only seeing the feed, it's not frame droppy on your end, right?
No.
Because it kind of felt a little bit choppy on mine. Maybe that's just the style, or maybe it's just
no, this is the style. No, this is the style. This is gonna be okay. So who stepping up fully did that channel? But who did it?
Is it in house? I would be surprised if it's in house.
Oh, if this is in a house, this would blow my mind.
If they have this available, if they have the tech to do this.
I mean, at this point, just go already. Then do the Warcraft Netflix series. You have all of the resources.
They have to follow it up. No, they cannot leave it. Like if they made the Ansorek style cinematic and add some motion to it, sure. But if they make this, you have to develop in something more. This is the biggest. This is the biggest tease. If you leave it like this. And obviously, somebody in chat pointed this a while ago, and I didn't really read much into it. But the rating is teen, but it's beheading and blood and gore.
Yeah, I'm surprised YouTube let it on.
I mean, listen, keep it. I don't care. I've watched
if we're part
worse shit as a team.
If we're getting back to some, normality here, we're all for it. But at the end of the day, even had some explicit scenes or whatever, there was not that much. It was at the beginning, but after that, it was like toned down. You didn't really see that much explicit stuff. But the tone of it is very mature. This is what I'm saying. Now compare what we just saw here to some of the cutscenes with Chromie and Nosdorm.
You want to go there to like the absolute extremes. For sure, it's not even close. I don't even need to go to like a caricature of WoW characters. We can just look at the interaction between Alexstrasza and Varanoth. This is how it's pronounced. We are Eastern European here. Eastern. Even those interactions were like super bland, super meh, super peace-loving. Is like, okay, no.
Too much peace.
So yeah, this is definitely something that people have been craving for. This, I mean, I don't know how much Metzen had a hand in it.
It oozes Metzen all over the place,
like,
man.
When I look at this, I remember the Warcraft 2 art style that was present in the game, where you had blood and body pieces all over the place. Yeah, Samwise.
Yeah. No, it was Metzen and Samwise.
Yeah.
But again, if the art direction, and I'm pretty sure, what's his name? Jeremy Fiesel? No, not Jeremy Fiesel. Terran.
Gregory?
Yeah, I think he had a huge hand in this as well, alongside Metzen.
Okay.
And it shows. It oozes out everything you want to see. And, it's about Illyria, Light and Shadow, that's fine.
Even if this just remains as an animated short on YouTube, if they take this vibe into the future of the game,
Whew, we're gonna have good times ahead, for sure. I mean, man, listen, we've been saying this for a long time. We cannot wait to get back into the lore of the game and get immersed once again with.
We've taken like a 5-year break from the lore.
Too many years have passed since we
almost
cared.
as long as our WoW content career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we kind of cared a little bit in BFA, but this was, again, the people who made this absolute blast. And this goes to show the potential of an actual animated series on Netflix, on any... They can do it.
What do you know? It has a over 95% like ratio.
Yeah.
How about that? Weird how things work.
It's beautiful. All right. Well, I guess it's the best way to like cover all of what we've covered today.
It was good. We predicted a bunch of the stuff that was coming. You predicted accurately that it would have to have very huge tie-ins to the War Within.
Well,
and it would have to be like kind of like a backstory, or do you know this character? Let's explore this character a little bit more if you don't know who Illyria is.
This if it doesn't completely rule out the possibility of a Warcraft animated series on Netflix, but it does make room for something else at Gamescom. I don't know what could they cannot not show
they keep
something.
raising the bar, man. They announced the War Within. They keep shoving cinematics down our throats that are actually cooler and cooler as we're seeing them. Like, what is there left? What are you doing at Gamescom, Blizzard? How can I wait for like 6 more days? It's unreal.
Yeah, it's the wait is excruciating. Cannot wait to get there. But okay, I'm hopeful. Something will be there that we are not expecting. At this point, I'm going back and saying it's going to be a brand new rendered cinematic for the expansion somehow, some way. Because you can bet your ass they're not going to talk about 11.1 or shit like that. That's
no shot after all of this, I don't think.
It's not going to happen. So it's probably going to be a kick-ass cinematic or river. Or who knows? Maybe they're going to make a cinematic for the 20-year anniversary. Maybe that. But we could be bang on that shit. But that shit isn't until November. I'm pretty sure November is going to be packed with
They probably will have an event. I think you also accurately said last week that they're probably going to have an event like a remix Plunderstorm style, where it's just an in-game side thing that will just run throughout its anniversary. It's a big anniversary. I mean, I don't remember what they did the last couple of years, but I know that the 15-year anniversary was in WoD, and they've revamped Molten Core for everybody to go back in. That was tiny to what they're capable of doing today, but for that time to have like a whole raid.
What was the 10-year anniversary?
Was it the 10-year anniversary?
Yeah, because what was 2014?
Yeah. Okay, for that time, having like a time-walked raid before time-walking was a thing, before scaling down was a thing.
Different times.
It was really fun, and I mean, it has to just be exponentially higher this year around.
I hope so, but okay, let's take a look at chat, because
it's crazy. I've seen you guys pointed it like I was like, okay, sure.
Well, we're not going to take like chat stuff that we're saying, hey, look at the cinematic. Well, okay, what can we say about that? But if there's
but yeah. Okay, so first of all, we want to thank Lego for the 56-month sub.
Oh, Lego! Thank you so much, buddy.
Zap with 54 months.
Zap also an OG. Big love,
OG.
Zap.
Robbins with 7 months.
Robin.
Rad Sam with 10 months. And our new Prime, Matty Jahu.
What up? Prime. Thank you.
Also a super chat from Toxic Frogs. Good afternoon, Flame. Always look forward to your videos. You mean our videos, man?
Hey, it's okay.
And we're getting into one of the questions: how hard are Holy and Disciplined Priests? They're not as hard as we are after watching the cinematic. It's so awkward to stand up. It's only awkward if we let it be awkward, everybody.
Don't let it be awkward. I'm just gonna let it be awkward. Yeah, keep looking at the camera.
Hey, Zanaka, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate it. Or just Naka with a lot of X's.
Discipline, I never felt it was too hard to play. You just have to get used to the playstyle, just a different mindset.
That's the actual difficulty. It's not actually playing the rotation, but understanding where your healing is coming from, and the amount of game knowledge that has to be packed with that to be able to perform with Discipline is just different than most other healers.
I mean, put in the work. Holy Paladin, on the other hand, feels very headaching.
Oh, yeah.
I feel-
I'm a masochist. I don't know. I love the
Yeah,
new
you
Holy
have
Paladin.
this weird love for Holy Paladins.
I love weird shit.
I used to love Holy Paladins, but now, like, if you're gonna give me a choice between
Listen,
Discipline Priest
that's
and-
fair, but don't knock it till you try it, because it's a blast.
Yeah, okay.
It's explosive.
Oh,
It's like a disco ball.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Is Lord Thamar wearing the new armor in the animation?
That's the pronunciation, not no.
Lord Thamar. Lord Thamar Throne. Throne is his last
Lord
name.
Throne. I love it. Lord Throne.
Isn't Charlize Theron? Isn't that like the same last name or whatever?
Yeah, okay, so Lord Throne.
Yeah, for like 3 frames. That's as much as screen time that he's getting.
We saw him like
Dude,
in 3
I think
seconds.
this guy needs so much more love in the lore.
Such a
he's,
cool character.
He's doing
a
so
cool
much for the Blood Elves, and he's just like a side character. Most people probably know about him is that he married Thalysra.
Yeah,
that's
his,
I feel like
his business card.
This
like,
has to
I'm
be one of the
married.
most underappreciated lore characters ever. He's just like cleaning up the mess of all of the Windrunner sisters, all of the Scourge mess. He lost an eye, he lost a hand or whatever. It's like, man cannot catch. I guess he did catch a break, right? He got his bay in. Any chance you guys are going to make spec guides for the War Within?
What was the question?
Any chance we get to make spec guides again for the War Within? It's not out of the question.
I doubt it, to be honest, because it's not. I don't see
we
like you have
can-
Wowhead and Icy Veins now, which make like the quick guides and it's easy mode. Plus, you have a lot of like the theory crafters and high-end players like specialized on all the specs. Like the time when we used to do it, there was the Wowhead guides, sure, but it was a lot more.
There were a lot more visual things that we could show on the video.
Back then, Wowhead did not have like the quick version of the guides, and what we basically did, we just made it more streamlined so people can easily pick up a spec or whatever and make it happen. Now it's not the case, because you don't have this much convoluted stuff anymore, right? It's like it's a bit redundant. Plus, we tried it in Dragonflight, and we worked on a guide for a week. That's a video that's been worked on for a whole week with the researching and scripting and recording and then editing and all of that, making all that pizzazz, and they turned out shit. Nobody watches them. So
A week of work, but like months of actual practice and playing the spec to be
that
able
on
to...
top of it, of course, because we want to.
So
like,
that's-
listen. Like I know there's a lot of people who want guides, but at the end of the day, that's a huge minority. And if we're gonna start doing guides and focus only on guides as we used to do in BFA and a little bit in Shadowlands, we're basically gonna kill the channel because not a lot of people watching, not a lot of people are interested in that anymore. It's very niche.
Not
And
for our...
it's understandable. It's understandable.
You can see like big content creators that play specific specs like Nagura for Balanced Druid. Whenever she does a video, I mean, great, but it's for if you're going to go for a Balanced Druid Authority and you go to Nagura, that's where you would go. And even that video is not that great for
Exactly.
YouTube WoW standards.
Because that interest and that search is like almost 100%, or its big majority is moved towards the sites. This is the reality. And
that's kind of great for the websites. I mean, people need to eat.
That's absolutely fine. There's no problem. But it wouldn't make sense for us to like work as hard as we did for a class guide, and that would not we talked about this on our Patreon exclusive podcast a couple of times. The amount of money, so if you translate it into money, how much the production of a class guide
For our channel anyway.
For our channel, if you draw the line on a month after that class guide is published, that video would not be able to sustain the amount of cost production for it. And at that point, like we do this is our only source of income. If we do that and we are not able to at least pay the bills, I'm not talking about, maybe having a nice vacation in the mountain here, not in a different country, something
Growing our
a little
channel.
bit extra, that's a problem. So we really have to think very, very carefully on those things.
I think the only people that can make it work are people who just build their own channel with very little editing, the way we do, which everybody does it differently, and that's perfectly fine. But usually those are the people that consistently make them, and they do, I guess, all right for the channel. But the way we approach it and the way we like to approach it, is to put a lot of creative work into it, a lot of visual work, a lot of audio work into it. And that just is a lot of time and a lot of effort that isn't translated. The people that want to watch guides are not people that, most of them, I'm not saying you, but most of them don't really I don't want to say appreciate, but they don't really care. They just want the information, and that's fine. But that's kind of why they eventually died.
And also, there's also the fact that it's not as convoluted anymore. You don't have so many external systems that need to be explained. You know, the combinations of which, because you had the conduits, you had the legendaries, all of the external systems. You know, on top of like the talent builds and so on and so forth.
Talents essentially don't exist anymore because you have 2 builds, and you take them. As opposed to when we did it back in BFA, it's like, okay, you take this for AoE, this for Raise, this for Mythic Plus, this whatever. Here you just have the builds. We cannot, of the 31 talent nodes that you're going to pick, we cannot talk about each individual one because it doesn't matter, since most specs have like 70% of them already the same across the board.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Celerium, for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate it.
Celerium,
welcome.
Love you. Anything else?
We probably have a bunch of stuff here. Let me see, because now I have 2 lines of text in my chat because it's super tiny. Can I make this big? Let's make this big.
What else? Make the chat big. Make the chat huge.
I made the chat big. I think we're probably done from when will it be released? When will what be released? The Netflix. So we don't know exactly. We don't know if it's still going to be a Netflix yet.
That's why the question marks are there.
We speculated it was going to be a Netflix before the 5-minute animated short was published about 30 minutes, an hour ago.
Yeah.
So it's anybody's guess if it's going to be anything more than what they have already on their channel. I mean, everybody probably hopes so.
I would say that, you know, if this garners like, I don't know, maybe more than 1 million views, it would be a great signal for them to actually like, okay, guys, this is the moment we have to put this on a series. And it's a shame. Like I still stand my ground. As much as I love this new cinematic anime style, I still feel it's a waste because it's so good. The craftsmanship, the coloring, the storytelling, everything, the characters. This is so much belonging to a series.
It's most likely easier to do than the Starfang cinematics that we had in BFA that we praised so much. That were so good in telling story and putting WoW in a cinematic perspective for the player. And we've been it's not like it's anything new, right? People have been saying, oh, but you should do a movie for like decades now. It's fine, we know that, but now it's like it's more than just that. They clearly have the tools, the tech, the means to do it.
They showed it. So we don't know, but if they're going to announce something, they're probably going to announce it at Gamescom. So, you know, this is why we have the question marks. Okay,
for sure.
Is this it?
Paludi asks, coming in a little bit late to the stream, what I heard, 6 people M+. So we talked about the potential of Mythic Plus extending to 6 people for a bunch of very good reasons revolving around 2 main issues with its, you know, people having hard times getting into groups and the augmentation changing the entire meta of the game. We will have a fully edited video from the stream. It's going to be on our main, most likely on our main channel. For that. So if you've missed the talk of that, we're definitely going to have it condensed and, you know,
a video exactly on that. But also the whole stream is going to be available on YouTube, so you can also check it out that way. That's fine. We talked a bunch about 6-player Mythic Plus, so it's going to be very juicy to look forward to.
I think we're probably done with everything. It's been a very interesting stream.
Yeah, different.
I'm actually glad we're doing it at this point because this is not the first time that they're releasing new stuff as we are actually recording this.
We're recording and doing it live.
Might be good to always have everything on hand just in case we need to react to something, because this is a good opportunity. They've made like buffs and nerfs to the specs that we were talking about buffs and nerfs a week ago as we were doing it live, and I was like, fuck!
That happens. That's the curse of doing content creation like this. It's like no matter how on point you want to be, but we have to like thank the chat for like, you know, pointing it out. Hey, guys,
couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you guys for pointing
I was like,
it out.
What are they talking about 5 minutes? It's like a 20-second thing. It's like, wait a minute, no. Wait a minute, no. Wait a minute, no. And it was really good. And you also got to see like a full-on live reaction of all of this. Beautiful stuff. All right.
I guess this is the 11th episode of WoW Wrap Up. Next week, I'm not sure it is going to be a wrap up. We'll see how things evolve at Games. We're going to be at Gamescom next week, so most probably what you're going to get, if we're going to have a stream on Friday
from Gamescom,
from Gamescom, directly from there, and play whatever they have to show us. And I don't know if the internet is right, maybe we can do something.
We can do a live chat at the hotel or something.
Yeah,
you know?
we can try something out
Low
there.
production quality, if there's anything to talk about.
You know, reporting live from the events that will occur over there. But as far as we know for now, not promising anything for
sure.
next Thursday. But rest assured, we're going to have plenty of videos already prepped up for the week. We're going to be at Gamescom on top of what we're going to do on Gamescom as well. So make sure to stick on Marcelian Online for a lot of good, useful, and I would dare say vital content for all you WoW enthusiasts out there. That being said, thank you, chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for chatting, you know, following, subscribing, all of that. Catch Flame tomorrow on the stream with a very conflicted mindset because he's torn between Mage and Paladin. What will Flame main? Well, we will see.
Yeah, because that Holy Paladin is a bug that I cannot get rid of.
Yeah. All right, I'm doing this. So, bye, everybody. Catch you next time. La, 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 la. Say bye, Flame. Say bye. All right, Flame, look at the camera, Flame. Look at the camera, Flame. Oh, there's Flame over there. Oh, there's me over there. Bye, everybody. Bye. I just stopped it. You just stopped it?
What? No, I just had some romance. It was like a little play. Turn it on, man! God damn it.
It's off.
Yeah, I can see it. I have it in my face, man. Who you lying to? Who you lying to?
Now it's for real.
What is worth fighting for?